tried to do a really personal based service. We will walk with them, we will guide them and help them get access to this service. But as we continue to work with neighborhoods and families, and with Yolanda at our senior center that we've been a part of, there's still this need for skill development just to be able to get around in daily life, really. Whether it's accessing prescriptions, making doctor appointments, finding the best way for transportation. Our seniors, and we'll talk more about that, really need to have that just base level training and exposure to some of the technology so they can help get those services. So what we're about to do in our site at Palestine Caring, our Senior Activity Center, really, it's not about the equipment anymore. We can get the equipment. That's not the biggest deal. It's having someone who's personable, can speak to them on their level, and can really walk with them through these little lessons that we plan on doing. And then, hopefully when we get to the end of this, the courses that we're going to do, we're going to have a device for them so they can walk away with something that they can use. It'll be theirs. We just finished a refresh of iPads at all of our school-based sites. So we have some really nice. They're older, but they still work great. iPads, and hopefully we want to still make use of those and get them into the hands of people who are going to be great devices for, and give them that access to the internet, really. So Yolanda, is that a good setup for you? You
I
want to talk a little?
mean, hey, that's great. That's great. I want to say good morning to everyone. And again, as Bryan said, that Link has been around for quite a bit, and we're excited because, as you see on the agenda, I just got here in August. It'll be a year in August, and there's been so many great things going on in Palestine. So one of the great things that, since we're talking about digital, we actually work with Megan at the library, and she comes in every Monday to do a smartphone class. And that right there is a kickoff because we have seniors now that are really wanting to move forward and be more proactive in learning more about technology. And so with that, we also reinforce with our senior citizen empowerment site council that we have. And we started that in October, and we're averaging about 20 to 25 seniors and maybe about 10 stakeholders and community people that we talk at the first Tuesdays of the month and discuss just some of the barriers and some of the needs that our seniors are looking to have and need within their homes. So with that digital class, that would be great because they've been talking to, well, one in particular called me right after he got out of digital the smartphone class and says, Yolanda, we need to set up a meeting and figure out how to do a class on scamming and dating sites that they're gearing towards seniors. And these are some of the things that our seniors tell us that we need and want. And I always want to make sure as a coordinator that we provide these services for our seniors. We have, and also I wanted to add, we increased our membership from about 30 to 40 people averaging a day or a month in our center from August to now, where we are feeding over 1,000 people a month. We've increased our membership of over 240%. And that's because we've been adding programmatic things that seniors need. And we continue to add those things on based upon the needs with our site council meetings with them. And so we're excited. So I can go on and on about the list of things that we do, but I know that that is the need. I'm looking at the notes that they left me last Monday on some of the classes that they want to have in technology, not only with their phones, but also being accessible to digital devices so they can get more comfortable, so they won't get scammed. They'll be able to confirm their doctor's appointments. They can be able to go in and find out their test results from any type of test that they've had. So we definitely are looking forward to moving forward in the effort if there's some opportunities for us. So that's pretty much it.
That's wonderful. Yolanda, I got a question, a crazy question. So what are they seniors commenting on as a shift from internet shift to internet streaming versus cable TV, and with the smart TVs? What kind of challenges are you hearing them, or suggestions or complaints?
To be honest with you, a lot of them have I mean, they have TV here, but I don't hear a lot of issues with the streaming devices. That's not really some of the concerns that I hear. I do hear a lot of oh my gosh, here's spam again. Somebody's calling me. I'm not picking up the phone because they're calling me. Like, they really use their phones more than anything, and that's their lifeline. I don't hear a lot of issues with cable versus streaming, of course. A lot of them have the regular standardized phones. I mean,
Digital
streaming
TV.
services is nothing, over the top or anything. Or I haven't heard anybody complain about spending extra money for Netflix or anything like that. They're really basic. They watch Family Feud, Gunsmoke. I mean, they're seniors. They really are basic. They watch the news, but what I've been hearing, the biggest concerns are their phones. One of the issues that we had where, a lot of seniors have issues with home repairs. They're trying to get their home repair, and there was a grant that came through for the city, and a lot of seniors could not get on to create an email address just so they can get in to confirm to get signed up for this grant. And I had to stop and help them to get that. Even when we were doing tax, I had to call around to get them set up for their tax preparation, because some of them didn't even have cell phones, or their Wi-Fi only worked in the center. So these are just different things that I know that I see with our seniors, just those things that they're doing on their phones and not picking up the phone. Some seniors have got engaged in dating sites, and they're fraudulent. And those are things that I'm seeing the need for.
Well, that's
It's
the second time
education.
it's the second time you mentioned the dating sites, and I'm
Yeah.
hesitant to even ask about that, as seniors do have to participate and stay healthy and vibrant. So that's great work that you're doing there. And I see Leslie has a hand up.
Go for it, Leslie.
Cool. So, a few things. I mean, this is just really awesome to hear. Is your lab up and going right now?
We use a space. Megan comes in and uses space in our upper area, and everyone just gets their cell phone out, and she just asks questions. She'll stop and do one-on-one. It's averaging between 6 and 10 seniors on Monday. It just depends. But we do have an actual computer lab, a very nice computer lab. There are no computers or laptops or anything. They're just using their smartphone devices.
Okay. Because I was thinking, maybe I was misremembering it, that you got the Health Forward grant was for a computer lab. So maybe I just imagined that.
I believe that there's something that they're working on. I'm be honest with you, Liz, we do. I just think that it's so many fires that have been put out, and it's a great fire. It's a great put out, but I just had to get acclimated with so many different things, and I'm going to ensure that I follow up with that, because I did hear about that, and we're working towards getting that taken care of.
Bryan, maybe you have some insight?
So yeah, I think I mentioned earlier, it's like, could we go into this room and it's a space and it's well networked, it's well wired, there's good Wi-Fi there. Do we go into this space and just put up, 15 different desktop workstations? Well, that'd be nice. And, you could burn through the money that way, but that's not the way people work anymore. I mean, you're on your iPad, you're on your cell phone. So you're really not tied to a desk for most of your life. I mean, I am here in the office, but even at home, I'm never at my, desk working. It's, you're always doing it on the couch or something with a tablet or, even a laptop. So, we will be deploying some devices that will be able to be checked out to them, either for the class or, like I said, if we have some older devices, we're just going to give them to them. And then, we'll set the foundation there for, getting them comfortable on, kind of the more portable devices. And also we can lock them up for security reasons too. So that's the kind of direction that I think we're going to head. But as far as like I mentioned earlier, we don't want to burn through a grant just on hardware without the expertise and the education.
Yeah.
It's really needed to get our seniors better equipped and digitally literate.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I wanted to just offer a couple of things that we've been doing at KC Digital Drive. One is our digital skills instructor, Carol Myers, has created an online scams class. So she, I'm sure, would be happy to share that with you all if you had somebody who wanted to take that material and present it at your senior center. And then the other thing, we also have a cut the cord workshop that we have put together that's really like all the resources. There's a slide deck, talk track, handout. Everything's all put together already. So that is just to help people understand more of what those free resources are, like at the library and other places where people can leverage their internet access and maybe even either expand their entertainment opportunities if they don't have cable, or maybe even get rid of that bill if they decide to. So we're happy to also share that with you all and have you add that class to your offerings at Palestine.
Yeah,
So
that,
Leslie, this is questions open for everyone. Is anyone tracking are the number of scams that are coming in and posting them to where the group can access it and just contribute to the post, and then see how we can get these type of scams squashed? You mentioned so many people are being hurt by these real estate agents calling and trying to acquire your home. And my phone, I probably have 16 a day where it already tells me it's a scam, and it just ties up my time. And I think in this digital age, they're using IP systems. The calls are coming from all over the United States. But I think if we could put a thought process behind this and probably try to push some legislation, or at least just playing the game of how do we protect people, because it's a trauma to them.
I think the thing that I've found to be the most concerning is their ability to have a local number, right? So like, sure, you get somebody calling from some random city outside of your area, and you're like, oh, I don't know that person, I'm not picking it up. But you get a call from Olathe, Kansas, and you're like, I don't know who this person is, but who knows where they're coming from.
So Pedro, let me jump in here for a second. Pedro knows what I'm getting ready to say, folks. They're using what we call an auto dialer that's based on SIP, and SIP can take any phone number and show that as the caller ID, but it's software calling these people's homes. Now, here's one thing I had to educate my 78-year mother, who sits at home. She gets bored. She likes talking to people. I said, Mom, stop talking to these people. Well, they're nice. I said, they want your house, though. Stop talking to them. So anyway, you got to kind of coach them in that area too. They like talking to people. If she gets phone calls, as you said, Leslie, from 816, she gets phone calls that look like her sister's phone number. That's why she picks up, right? Anyway, I'll just stop right there. But that's what they're using, folks, and it's unstoppable. FCC, they're behind. SIP, they can't catch up. The genie's out the bottle, Pedro. Pedro knows what I'm talking about.
We've got to find ways to protect them.
Yep. So, reverse engineer some stuff, right? Maybe.
Well,
I like following.
There are so many scams that seem reasonable, like the text messages, especially now that for anybody who takes I-70, they got rid of the toll booths and they just bill you now somehow. I don't even understand really how that works, but those text messages, oh, you've got an unpaid toll, and it's not that much money, right? So it's like, it's $4.75 or it's $3.20, whatever it is. And like, oh, well, I better go ahead and pay this. I don't want to get in trouble. And it looks real,
Yeah, that's a scam. Big time. I'm not telling on myself, but that's so easy to set up. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. That's not me, folks. It's not me, but it's so easy to do that. I'm just shocked that, and there's several ways we can block that too. So anyway, it's just what it
You're
is.
onto something about the blocking. I mean, it's just how do we keep folks uh, ahead of or catch up to what the SIP world has created for everyone?
Hey, could someone explain SIP? What is SIP?
Session Internet Protocol. That's what, again, I came from Sprint United Telephone. You guys remember Dial Tone? Remember
It's
that?
a cloud-based.
When was the last time you heard Dial Tone? Been a long time. SIP replaced all that. You don't need that's called DTMF. You don't need that anymore. SIP is an actual protocol, intercession protocol. That's how you make
It's in
phone
the IP protocol stack, so it's part of the internet now. So everything needs an
bondage.
packet.
Yeah,
If it
bondage,
needs
Spring
a
Central,
packet,
all of it. That's how they're doing it. That's how we're doing it right now. Our
yeah,
audio is SIP, right? And you're on Zoom. Zoom's video is an old codec from WebEx. Okay, he's still using WebEx. Now I use WebRTC. I won't talk about that right now, but yeah, you've got SIP running right now. It's running right now. My voice is SIP.
so it becomes a cloud-based in the marketing world. SIP was where it originated was in the marketing world to put a number of callers from around many different parts of the country instead of all in one building to where they can have a simple single identification phone number. So the challenge is we got to get to the carriers. We have to have regulations put in with the carriers to start monitoring the distrusted callers that are placing and hiding behind their SIP network.
Yep. Pedro, if you set up an organization to write some legislation, I would raise my hand to that one. That's worth my time. I'll help you guys with that if you want me to.
Maybe I'll fund it by sending out some Kenny Yancey says he'll join. Just donate to the.
Well, go for it because the FCC they know me. Trust me, they know who I am. They do because I haven't broken any laws, folks, but they know who I am. They do.
Yeah, it's a good challenge.
Yes.
We should talk about that in another meeting.
Yes. Anytime, buddy. Anytime.
So I think just as far as the education part of this and the training part of this, it's really getting to the point where it's like endpoint management and you're responsible for your own endpoint. But I know with improvements in Android and Apple, iOS, that you can configure it in a way so nobody that's not in your contacts can even talk to you without talking to your virtual assistant. And
Yes,
that's
sir.
what I do. If someone tried to call me right now, you're going to have to talk to my robot, and then maybe I'll call you back. But I think educating, seniors particularly who are, they target them, educating them on how to set their devices up so that it can reject a lot of these automated things that are obvious spam, and then show them also, okay, this is the type of call I'd like to receive, or here's how I know, or I can tell that this is legitimate. And then just provide them that type of information on how to protect themselves a little bit, because I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for legislation or carriers to do anything fast. That's for sure.
What can I give you guys 2 tips? And I'll be done after this, Leslie. I don't want to take up your meeting. If you receive a phone call and you hear a pop sound, hang up. That's from a call center. If you receive a phone call and you don't hear, you say hello and they don't say anything, what they're doing is verifying your presence, because SIP has this geofencing algorithm that they're just calling you to see where you picked that phone up. Then they sell that data saying, okay, Kenneth Yancey picked up. He does live on blank, blank, blank street. So 2 things to look out for. If you get a phone call, you hear this pop, just hang up. That's a call center. That's a robocall. The second one, if they don't say anything, right? They're just verifying that that's you. Hang up. You got 3 seconds to hang up before they can verify you. 3 after that. Remember the old days? They would do a call trace. Stay on the line. Stay on the line. Remember that old stuff? So now they can do that in 3 seconds. Remember all the detective movies and all? Maybe you don't remember that, but
They still do it.
okay, still do it. They still do it. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Brian and Ken and I are on a topic that we're going to probably get back to here momentarily, but we want to stay on track. I've got my clock right in front of me, and
Yeah.
Leslie Island, because I'm going to put us on track. I believe we have scheduled up next some the updates from the state and national
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. And thanks so much to our Link folks for being here. We look forward to seeing how this evolves. And again, feel free to contact me and we can talk more about those other classes that we have resources for. So, JR, you are up.
Good morning. Can folks hear me?
And
Yes.
All right. Good morning. Pleasure to be with you all. As always, I am Demetri Farthing, Missouri Office of Broadband Development. And I think the biggest news on our front is that we are continuing to process the NOFO changes from the federal government and preparing our state to be up and ready and rolling within the next 90 days. I requested a nice little summary of all the steps the office is taking, and that was not at all what I received. And so it's far too long for me to talk to you all about at the moment, but I'm happy to try my best to answer any questions. And if there's anything I can't answer, I'll definitely take it to an expert and get those responses to Leslie for you all.
I guess I'm just wondering, like, what are some of the fundamental timeline changes, if you have them? Like, you were on, a track of almost, I think were you ready to award BEAD grants?
The office had definitely closed applications and closed lots of pre-qualification and was, well on their way to making announcements regarding decisions made. I couldn't say when exactly those would have come out, but we were definitely, pretty substantially down the road. And I think at the point where we are now, we just want to make sure that our program as it is compliant with federal law, and where it's not, making sure that we get into it because the most important thing is securing these funds for the state.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess just to follow up then with the new guidance, how far does that push things? Like when do we think there will be shovels in the ground, I guess is my question.
I know that we definitely don't have a solid expectation, but from everything, the only thing we can run on is what the government has said, and I think Lutnick has made it fairly clear that his aim is to get, if every state is compliant with these new adjustments, they want to get shovels in the ground by the end of the year. That's what I've heard. That's not, let me state, not OBD timeline, federal government states.
Are you needing to do any significant changes to any of your plans that you'd already had submitted and approved?
I think that's a discussion ongoing with Adam. I think he's still trying to get a
Got it.
final response. I think that might be clear or clearer by the next time. So I think, again, I
Okay.
know these are poor answers today. I'm so sorry. Definitely not our office's beat guy, but let me say that anything I hear today, I'll take back to Adam and get a better answer for you.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think I mean, you were the process was tootling along and then now you kind of had this new guidance to deal with. So I was just wondering how that's affecting things. It's probably a lot. We appreciate you all and hang in there. And
Thank
I
you.
will leave it to others to ask any questions they have.
Thanks so much, Leslie. I can say, I think, like I said, I'm not the bead guy, but I know things that are a little more relevant to who I assume is the majority of this audience. In that guidance, we saw that they gave us a very unhelpful, what can you do with non-deployment funds? And it says, we'll give you more information later. So we're waiting on that answer, but it's good that they're not getting rid of that yet.
Yeah, and just for clarity, for folks who don't know what non-deployment funds are, can you explain those and why you're so interested in them, considering you wrote that your digital opportunity plan?
Yep. So per the original statute, right, like I said, some of these things are still undergoing changes, and the government has, or the federal government has announced that they'll have a more formal, more concrete update on non-deployment funds shortly. But they have said that once you attain the objectives of the BEAD program, once you've connected all of the households to broadband level speeds that satisfy the requirements of the BEAD program, you can then redirect those remaining funds for purposes outside of broadband infrastructure. And so our hope was to direct a portion of that for digital opportunity, digital skills trainings, expanding access to low-cost broadband and affordable devices. And we're still hopeful that we'll be able to do that. I can say that I am working on a plan. Whether that plan will be approved, again, will be dependent on what NTIA says, but we are certainly still operating as if we'll have those funds to work with.
Oh, I lied. Here's the big question. If non-deployment funds are not available, the DEA, the Digital Equity Act money is not available. What is your initial thought here as to what's the next step? I mean, do you have any other tricks up your sleeve?
I think we're certainly trying to be proactive. I myself am going out and looking for grants that our office would be eligible to use. And then, as I've tried to make clear on every call I get on, we are not a service delivery organization. So any funds we get, we will certainly pass right back out the door to the organizations. We just want to make it easy for you, right? So if we can take some of those federal requirements out, or some of those federal requirements off your backs, but still get those funds to you, that's something we would look into. I think even up till now, several folks on this call have seen it, but we've definitely worked to help support Missouri-based organizations as they pursue other groups. We also would like to continue to facilitate meetings between disparate or groups that are pretty disparate from each other across the state, so that they can share best practices. And so certainly, if we can continue to be a facilitation and advocacy organization, and then hopefully secure and pass through funds, that's I think where we ultimately will end up aiming.
Hey, JR, this is Aaron. I've got a follow-up question on that, if I can. And apologies if this has been addressed. I've been a little bit in and out, but I met with Bill and Joe on the Kansas side Wednesday, and it occurred to me like there could be an opportunity to kind of I'm thinking from a Kansas City perspective, and I don't know how much this tracks with what's happening at the state, but like to have sort of a proactive messaging around like, okay, we put these two statewide plans together, and we put them together with the expectation that there was going to be funding accompanying them, but and the funding's not there now, but we still have these plans in place, and like I haven't heard a lot of sort of proactive messaging around like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? And you just explained, I think, what some of those, things are and kind of how you're approaching it. But I think that the offices could have maybe a little bit more systematic way of talking about it, but also that I think we could, work collaboratively. And when I say we, certainly Digital Drive team, kind of as we've worked with both state offices before, but I think also, our Digital Life Exchange and coalition partners here in the Kansas City area, when we think about the pieces of those plans and what they mean, whether it's just for Kansas City or whether we want to look across the whole state, and bring you some capacity. I mean, I know your office is going to be pretty like heads down on BEAD, but to kind of think about, okay, well, what does it look like? Which of these pieces, knowing that we don't have funding, but that we've come together and said we want to do, like, how do we execute on some of these things? I think that's an exercise, that we would be interested in helping to sort of convene and drive forward, both in terms of what are the actual tactics and strategies that we can still do, but also like how do we message to that to local government, to foundations, to other stakeholders that like, yeah, this funding disappeared, but the work is still important, and here's how we're jointly approaching it.
Yeah, no, thank you for that point, Aaron. Excuse me, Aaron. I think it's very valid. I think It's a little complicated because we have to recognize, and I mean the office itself, right, have to recognize the space that we operate in. I think we are certainly, we certainly believe in the plan, right? We put it out there. I think a lot of the strategies and the goals and things listed inside it are admirable, and we certainly would like to see those things accomplished. If there are ways that we can, support Missouri-based organizations in doing so, we certainly want to, but we are very strictly bound. We are not, we don't develop policy as much as we implement it. And so, like I said, there are very strict limits on what we can and cannot do in terms of advocacy. So, like I said, we stand behind it, and we think it's strong. And if an organization wants to go and pursue those things, to the limits, to the extent that the law allows us, we certainly would support those efforts. But again, I think there are certainly very strict limits on what we can and can't do.
So let me, I want to maybe pin you on that a little bit more to the extent that I just, because we got here with Bill and Joe a little bit too, and I don't know if your kind of operating assumptions are, so you've created this plan, you created in the context of the previous NTIA leadership, the current, I mean, you guys have sort of, you're responsible to NTIA, and you're responsible to the governor, and you're responsible to, the leader of DED, right? So NTIA has said that this work is not a priority for us to fund. You could react to that and say, which is sort of what I was suggesting before, well, NTIA is not going to fund it, but what are our other alternatives for funding this work? Another read on sort of the way this has gone about is NTIA is not just not funding the work, they think this is the wrong work and they don't want it to happen. And or maybe the state governor's office or the economic development department has changed its mind, and we 6 months ago put out this body of work and we said we thought we wanted to do it, but now actually on further consideration we don't think that this is good work to go do. And I realize that there is like some political gray area between the things that I'm laying out that you may or may not be able to say explicitly, but I'm curious if I guess if and maybe to take this off of the Office of Broadband Development and to say at a state administration level, is the position more that we had this body of work that we think is valuable and it was funded before and now it's not, so we still want to do this or a version of this work but with different funding sources? Or is it we laid out this work that we thought was valuable, but now the context has changed a bit and we're not so sure that this is work that the state wants to get behind, but the plan's still out there, and if other people want to get behind it, have at it. I don't know if those are too clear, and there may be others, so I maybe I'm talking too much, but don't know if you've got a perspective on that.
Sorry, just still here. I promise. Scanning, trying to process everything. I think the fullest response that I can give you at the moment, Aaron, is that we are certainly following the instructions of the legislature and the governor. They set the policy. We will implement those policies as instructed. We believe in all the work that we do, and as we are told, we will continue to act, like I said, following instructions of legislature, the governor, and the law.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Well, appreciate the update. Kenny?
I have a quick question for Dimitri. So I read the BEAD rewrite, and two things that I noticed is that they are requiring you all to go with the lowest bidder. And again, we all know the cost of fiber versus satellite. So clearly, the new bid language is structured around supporting satellite. Okay, so to that point, here's my question. Has the state of Missouri identified those areas that will be best served with satellite? Do you guys have that mapping already?
I believe that data I believe that that data is still being compiled and is not currently, available for public consumption.
Okay, okay, very good. Thank you.
Any further questions for Dimitri? Well, Dimitri, we appreciate the update. Aaron, the questions, and Kenny, the questions that you just brought up. Leslie, do we have a Kansas update?
I don't believe we do. I think they probably figured they gave it to Aaron. Aaron, did you have anything you want to share that you learned from the KOBD?
I will. Yeah. I mean, they trying to think what would. They're definitely heads down on BEAD. It was interesting, just the timing. And I don't know how much JR talked about this, but the whole sort of resetting of the clock and how quickly everyone was going to need to move to do what they did in 2 years now in a couple months. That's obviously taking a lot of their time. I would say, we had a similar a similar kind of conversation to the one JR and I just had, and they were similarly circumspect, which I think kind of speaks to the environment that everyone's operating in. But also interested in, I'd say they do believe in the work that has been done, and they are committed to following the law and direction of the state and the federal government, and I think prudently, in terms of how they think about the Digital Equity Act, the DEA funded side of activities. They don't want to do anything that may jeopardize the BEAD dollars, which are a lot of dollars. And so I think that is just factors into sort of the level of deliberateness with which they're approaching the engagement and work. I mean, it was funny because I think you had said something like, they're they're running it up the chain. I don't know if you said that because you had talked, I think, to Shelley maybe about presenting at this meeting, and that was the language that Joseph used. And I pressed him a little bit on that too, like who's the chain? What's the chain? What's the to come and give an update at a community meeting? Like what are the sort of the things that are happening in the chain? And he, even with that, he's like, I'll let you know when I can. I mean, it was interesting. I didn't realize that the broadband office, I think there is a staff person at Commerce between Bill and Lieutenant Governor Toland, who's the Secretary of Commerce, and then there's the Secretary of Chief of Staff as well. I'm curious, actually, JR, on your side, does BJ report directly to Michelle?
I think he left, Aaron.
Oh, he may have left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. So anyway, that was interesting. It did sound like we might see more of Shelley, potentially in this work, since Kim has left. They've got Bag 5 coming out. That's infrastructure side. They've still got, Dock and Adopt. And so the Kansas did have money sort of directed towards this work. The equity side of the work that still flowing. They sound optimistic that they'll be fully subscribed with all of those programs. So that's encouraging. And I think the other kind of big takeaway was we can make as many plans as we want and talk about all the good work that we'd like to do, but if no one's going to pay for it, it's going to be really hard to do. So that's, I think, where they are.
Well, that
Aren't
kind of
we
leads
all?
into our next opportunities that we can think about to get back on time and to gain a little bit more time. I'd like to start this conversation, but I'm being told I need to be back out on the construction site. Another city inspection is going to be taking place at 11:45. But we had a conversation last week, and I mentioned what's our role at KC Digital Drive and as a coalition, and how we see ourselves benefiting and getting the message out to our constituents around the World Cup and all things that matter with the newfound funding that may come in from the World Cup to support infrastructure. And Aaron, you may have talked to some folks at both state levels to get an idea where they're at and what their plans are to ensure that what's left from the infrastructure build outs from the carriers after the World Cup. And that's kind of the conversation I'd like to carry and lead. Is there's been some favorable research information from other countries that had hosted and other cities that had hosted the World Cup. And there are some catalytic funding programs that were created from their presence in the cities that they took over. There's no other way to put it. There's expecting 500,000 more people into our metropolitan area, and 300 to 400 miles in either direction. So I'd like to just consider and see how folks are looking at this opportunity to be engage your clients and ensure that they're, I don't want to use they're a part of participation of at any level. I think that's a good place to start. I think some of the state funding might be a way we could convince them to take some dollars that have a long-lasting impact for our underserved communities, not just rural communities. Aaron, I'd just like to ask that question to you since you've had some direct conversations, it seems like, at the state level.
Yeah, I haven't heard much from either of the states on and just haven't brought it up on World Cup. We've I think like you and we've talked about this, we hear some of that stuff and are in some of those conversations locally, less so at the state level. I will tell you one thing that just World Cup related and funding related, and I don't know if this has been resolved or not, but probably in March, I was at a meeting in New York with, it was kind of a smart cities, meeting, but there were maybe 5 of the World Cup team leads, like Pam Kramer's equivalent. Pam was gonna go, but couldn't. And I didn't realize, like, the thing that was kind of at top of mind for all of them was that there was no federal allocation and they all had to have like their own budgets. Basically, I mean, it's a similar story, I guess, to the broadband thing. Nobody knew where the money was coming from. And so it's like, yeah, here's all the stuff that we need to do. And there's, I think locally, a lot of talk about, what's the business interest and what's the, what are the legacy projects going to be and what are the things that we're going to do to improve the community. And all of these people's, thought was like, we don't even know how we're going to secure the space, and we don't want anyone to get killed, and we don't want people to get like run out, like the sort of nuts and bolts security, people moving was at the top of their to-do list, and they had no dollars allocated for it, which all kind of blew me away. It sounds like from Pam Kramer, this was maybe a month or 2 ago, I had brought that up to her in a different meeting, and I don't know her well. I'm not part of any of those committees, but I kind of relayed that story and shit because I was like, is that true for us too? And she's like, yeah, that pretty much tracks, but this was early May, and she's like, I think we're close. And also, it was kind of interesting, at least to her tell it. It sounded like Kansas City contingent was playing a lead role in some sense in trying to wrangle those federal funds, and they thought that the administration was close, and I don't remember the details and how much money and what they were going to do, but whether anything's happened on that in the past month and a half, I haven't seen it visible. But it's interesting for as much that you see that's visible, and there's a fair amount, but like this was all news to me that on that the federal funding wasn't allocated, that the security was still such a question. So it's about as much as I know.
But I think if we come at it, you mentioned something that really stuck with me. You put a plan together, but you put it out there, nicely written, but it's no good of a plan unless we get funding for it. How do we start having these conversations with some of the players, at least plant the seed with them to understand that there's a collaboration, organizations that come together that are doing work. I know what we're doing based off of getting our small businesses ready and ensuring that's our focus for what we do in the digital world, getting them ready, marketing, and just being prepared. But I think we could take it a step beyond that, and maybe we all share or focus on how we prepare our client base. Because overrunning a city with folks that speak different languages, folks that have different cultures, folks that have different means of entertainment, we should be prepared both digitally and pass that information on to our clients that we serve. And possibly push someone to fund these great ideas that Aaron was mentioning earlier in our plans. Just a thought. Leslie, was that in line with what you were, our conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm wondering, like, when you envision all these people converging, 650,000, they're thinking, like, other than infrastructure, and of course, like the business side of things, what are you thinking about the connection between digital inclusion and the World Cup? Like, what kinds of examples are you thinking of that maybe we need to really start noodling on?
Well, I think there's 600,000 people. We probably need 300,000 volunteers to come in, ambassadors of our city, ambassadors of our communities, not only just to serve throughout the downtown corridor, but all the connecting communities that visitors will be coming through. I think preparing the communities to participate at that level is going to be a key piece.
Okay. No. I think the the goal here is probably we just need to start thinking about this. I think one thing that having been, I mean, it's been many years, but having been bus dependent in this city, whew, it's tough. And so, the transportation side of it is definitely something that's head scratching to me that we're not farther along. But I'm not on the inside, so it might be much more farther along than I'm aware. This isn't digital inclusion related, but like, what are we going to do with all the trash that's produced, by this 650,000 people coming? I mean, that's bigger than the city of Casey Mo. So it's like, a Casey Mo size amount of trash added on to our region. So there's all these other considerations, but I think, in the broad scheme of things, if we can start narrowing down what we think could be some interesting ideas for digital inclusion related projects for the World Cup, like that could be interesting to the folks who are organizing, and so just hope everyone is putting their thinking cap on, and we can maybe have a more focused discussion on that down the line. But that's just kind of what I was thinking as you were talking, Pedro. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts or any ideas or anything they're working on.
Hi, this is Jerry Buckman from the city. I will try to present a little bit of reassurance or assurance. Nothing as far as the World Cup plan has filtered down from the city at this point. I will say that as it relates to digital equity, digital inclusion, and the overall plan, I should have something to share with the group by the time we meet in August. So that's what I can put on the table as assurance or reassurance today. But yeah, a lot of the things that have been brought up, things that both Pedro and Aaron and Leslie have mentioned, I have heard tidbits about the actual official plan has not come out yet, but yeah, by our meeting in August, I should have something that I can share with the group, and we could probably work from there
I
as far
will
as what the city has going.
I will put a placeholder on the agenda for you in August today, Jerry. No
Okay,
pressure. If you're ready, that's great. But if not, no worries. But I want to make sure we keep that placeholder for you.
absolutely. Okay.
Thank
Great.
you, Jerry. Thank you for bringing that in up front. I didn't see you sneak in on us, Jerry.
No, I'm here, Pedro. I've just taking in some of the information that's been sharing, and yeah, I'll be able to share my thoughts on what's happening over here in the city as we go along.
Jerry, do you have a colleague on the Kansas side at KCMO?
Not specifically for Kansas
KCK.
City, Kansas. Yeah, no, I do not. I know that there have been several folks that I've talked to from the state level, and then Johnson County jurisdictions. We've talked back and forth. But no, I don't have a counterpart in Kansas City, Kansas per se that I know of. That I know of.
Okay. We'll do some research on it. Well, appreciate
Yeah,
the
there's
update.
not on Kansas side. Alan Howes is on our board, so he kind of takes that at an administrative level. Crystal Sprague is their innovation and performance manager, who we are sort of driving this work toward. But they've got a lot going on in KCK, and not enough staff to do it. So
Because staff keeps leaving.
Well, that's wonderful for KCK.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a treat to live over here right now, I can tell you.
I think the mayor seat is up for grabs,
yeah,
right?
Yep,
yeah.
this is true.
Vote for write Leslie Scott in so I could.
Oh my heavens. Boy, that's
Folks, I'm going
there.
to apologize. I need to take a 3-minute drive to our construction site and meet with our illustrious city staff that's doing an inspection. I apologize for that. Leslie, thank you for this opportunity to
Yeah, no,
meet up.
I can take it from here, Pedro. I think it's my part of the agenda, so it's good, great timing. So thank you
Great to
for
see everyone.
facilitating today.
Yes, great to see everyone.
Have a great weekend, Pedro.
You.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn our agenda upside down a little bit. I wanted to, so Digital Inclusion Week is the first full week of October. So the 6th through 11th, I think it is. Um, so just, I mean, that it'll be here before we know it. So just under 4 months. Wanted to see if anybody had anything planned at this time, or thinks they might. Any kind of events or workshops or other kinds of things. I mean, it's pretty early, so don't feel obligated to have something, but was just curious if anybody's already got things they're thinking about.
Well, Leslie, this is not directly related to Digital Inclusion Week, but we, as you know, in 2024 at the beginning, I built a couple LLMs, and all that is, folks, is
Mm-hmm.
large language modules, right? I built one, and we were applying for grants, and we won some grants, and so Terry gave me some additional dollars, so I built a grant response platform. Now, the way it works is that it will go out and find these grants for you. And this is not a commercial. I'm just sharing with you guys what we do, right? We've always shared, we've always wanted to partner. So I'm not selling anything right now. But look here, there's a lot of money still out there, folks. It is, right? We found 63 grants that fit our vision and mission statement. But it's hard to find it through these grant portals you got to pay money for. You've got to use some AI to get to this data. Because this data, well, one of the LLMs I built it based on DeepSeek. DeepSeek was one of the algorithms that the government was trying to shut down. It was too late. It was already out there. Once it's out there, it's out there. You can't stop it. So again, that's what we're going to do. We're going to start sharing. Carrie, it's not named after the library lady, but Carrie was my grandmother.
Aw.
Carrie was my grandmother. So I'll just put it in the chat. And again, we're using it. We got other people using it. Because again, there's enough work out here for everybody. And there's dollars out here. So we wanted to share it with you guys and write some grants. We can write a grant in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I don't care how big it is. But it's proof. Leslie, I like this. It's proofread ready, Leslie. Proof like that. So you have to read it, right?
Yes.
But we
Yes.
know you still got to attach all your financials and all that kind of stuff, right, Leslie? But our biggest challenge when we started writing our own grants was finding them and writing them was 90% of the work. That's gone. That's gone. So I'll put the link in the chat. If you want to look at see how it works, but it's working so far. Just want to share.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Ken.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for Digital Inclusion Week that they're thinking about? Even if you're just now like, oh, well, we could do this, like any ideas or anything that you might be looking for partners on? All right. Well, I guess we're the only ones who are trying to get this nailed down so early. So we'll have a whole entire week of events. And one of them, the working title, I don't think we're going to stick with this, but the working title is a Digital Resources Fair. And what I just wanted to pick your brain about for a few minutes, and you can follow up with me too, because I want to make sure we leave at least 10 minutes for other announcements. But it would be it would be an event where we would have some vendors, of course, so people tabling. We would have some short workshops. So on the online scams, the cut the cord, maybe some other kinds of workshops that would be like 20, 30 minutes long that people could participate in. And then also have like a bank of computers and some folks there to help people navigate some of the online common online tasks that they might need to do. So applying for benefits programs or job applications, things like that. So just to have that kind of on-demand support right there where people could come to the event and do that. want to have kind of a passport kind of concept where if people got their passport filled up, then they could be entered into a drawing for maybe some kind of raffle prize, maybe a device or some other kind of thing. So what I was curious about was just hearing from you all what kinds of workshops, what kinds of resources, what kinds of tasks do you think people might need help with? And who do we think wants to would want to be there to provide those kinds of resources to our community? Don't everybody talk at once now. Let's see. Yolanda, are you all still doing utility assistance at LINC?
Absolutely. Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we're doing a utility assistance. I think they do every now and then rent assistance. We still do food distribution on Wednesdays, and also they do distribution of food once a month to all of the different centers, including mine. And summer school's in. I do monthly ongoing engagement events for our seniors. So every month we try to do activities. So this last Saturday we had a Juneteenth event that we put on. This past Saturday we had a great crowd. Seniors was actually excited that the center was open on a Saturday. They were actually excited about that. So we ensured that it was a senior Saturday. We do ongoing special events ongoing for the seniors. Like today we have line dancing. They just finished up a class. Now they're going to be doing a stair aerobic class. It's something going on every single day. It's nonstop. And the reason why I'm looking back and forth, because there's been like 5 people by my office. And I'm like, wait, I got an event. I have a meeting going on, but it's always some constant activities and things going on every single day.
Right.
Yes, every single day.
Okay. Well, maybe we've had some people who have had to drop off. So maybe the action item here is to just put out the ask for you to think about it. Also looking for volunteers for a planning committee. So if this is something that sounds interesting to you and you'd like to help with the planning, I'd love to have you. So just let me know. You can just email me. I think everybody's got my email address, but I will drop it in the chat. So with that, wanted to just leave some time for any other announcements that people might have. All right, well, hearing none, maybe we'll be able to give you 12 minutes back in your day. All right, everyone, have a wonderful weekend. Stay cool. Enjoy Make Music Day if you're going to anything tomorrow or any Juneteenth celebrations. Stay hydrated, find some shade, be safe, and we will see you next month. A quick reminder, there's no first Friday coalition meeting because it falls on July 4th. So the next meeting will be July 18th. So we will see you in a month.
Thanks, Leslie.
Thanks,
Have a great one,
everyone.
everyone. Have a great weekend.
You
Great
too.
job.